Welcome back to Breaking the Habit. My name is Carefree Bomb. Good morning. I'm joined here by spaceyl1, who will be running Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. We will be doing the all bosses, all mini bosses category today. BTH is in benefit of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which was established in 1987. It's a voluntary health organization that gives those affected by suicide a nationwide community empowered by research, education, and advocacy to take action against this leading. It's dedicated to saving lives and bringing hope to those affected by suicide, including those who have experienced a loss. If you have any more questions, please feel free to ask in chat. Otherwise, Spacey, feel free to introduce yourself and anything about your run.
Yeah, so the only thing that I want to say about this run is that after the run, I will be donating $5 for each time in this game we are given a sword by a child, and I would encourage everyone in chat to do the same. Now, you might be thinking, that's an oddly specific thing. How many times could that happen over the course of this run? Once? 0 times? Probably 0 times. You might as well just agree ahead of time that you're going to donate $5 each time that happens. And then with that, we can go ahead and get started. In 3, 2, 1, go. So we're going to start off with a little tutorial section. So we don't have our sword at the beginning of the game. And as everyone knows, if you don't have a sword, you can't actually sprint or run. So our fastest form of movement is instead going to be jump spamming. There we go. And we've got this little stealth section here. So we're going to be sneaking our way very sneakily through all these guards. Don't worry, they don't see us. We're doing great. I am locking on and jumping because I get a little bit extra distance if I do so. They don't see us. They're firing their guns for an unrelated reason. And jump through this window. We just need to hit the trigger. Doesn't actually matter if we go in the window there. And then here is our first child. And you might be realizing now, I have bamboozled you. That's $5 right there. Our first child who has given us a sword. Now, we also don't have our grappling hook here at the this tutorial section. That didn't stop us from using our grappling hook, as you may have noticed. So we could do what's called a glitch grapple. It will be useful there and only there. It saves like a second maybe. But if you are ledge hanging and you mash grapple plus jump, you could get a grapple even when you're not supposed to be able to. This is our first mini-boss here. I'm just going to kind of be hitting him in the direction that I want to run anyway. So he had a yellow bar at the top there. So most bosses we're going to be trying to kill by filling their yellow bar, and then we have to perform a death blow on them. And most bosses and mini-bosses will take 2 of those. You can also deplete their red health in the top left, and that will also open them up for a death blow. But most of the time we're going to be filling the posture bar instead. So a boss or mini-boss will take posture damage when they get hit, regardless of whether they block you or take the damage full on. However, if they parry you, then they'll only take 25% of the normal posture damage. And then so this is the boss at the end of the tutorial. We are allowed to just let him cut our arm off. That counts as progressing the fight. You don't get anything special for beating him, although you can. It would just make runs a lot more annoying. So we could just give him our arm like that. Now we have our grappling hook for real, which is really nice because that means that we can do a grappling hook without having to ledge hang all the time, which would be extremely slow. Oh, that's fine. So now our movement is going to be kind of a mix of sprinting and jumping. We can also wall kick. And then grappling is like sometimes faster because grappling pulls you fairly quick, but the startup animation of it is slow, so we're pretty much always going to be jumping into our grapples or running off an edge into a grapple like that. And then that's our first shinobi tool. We'll talk more about those once we actually have uses for them. And then so in addition to getting death blows by depleting posture or health, we can also get stealth death blows on a lot of fights like that. So there I got a stealth death blow from above because the mini-boss was not aware of me. And then here you'll see me doing a strat we call dead angling. That's where I'm starting my attack faced away from the boss, and then I'm like aiming it back towards him at the last second so that he doesn't know that I'm going to attack him. I don't really care if the boss blocks me, like I said, because the posture damage they'll take is the same, but I don't want them to parry me, so that's the main reason I'm going to be doing a lot of dead angling, especially in the early game. We're going to get more powerful tools later, but when we just have our R1s to work with, dead angling is what we want to do. So we're grabbing our first set of sugars here. Sugars are various buffs we're going to be making use of. These ones are stealth sugars, so eating them makes you borderline invisible. Most enemies won't detect you unless you're very close to them. We can use that to get stealth death blows in a lot of places. However, a lot of the routing in the game over time has been avoiding using them. So like so, I can do a little jump around there to get the stealth death blow on Ogre here, rather than wasting a sugar. And then I'm just kind of going to be circling around him with R1s. Did the kick, that's an unusual attack, but doesn't really matter. Here's the stagger. I want to finish him with a backstab, because it's a faster death animation. Mini bosses have different death animations depending on how you finish them off, so that's something we have to think about in a lot of fights, is how we want to actually end the fight. I want that gunman to see me. Ideally, I wanted him to shoot at me sooner, because that baits that guard away here. Now I have to wait a little bit. And then I can come up and backstab this guy. And then I'm going to try to dead angle him towards the corner, because that's where I want to go. And also so I don't get shot too much by that guy. It's fine. Okay. Yeah, so there's a little bit of technique getting used to dead angling like that. There's some dead angles we can use a corner to do. Those ones can be pretty brain dead, but even some of those are actually deceptively tricky. So now we're kind of up on one of the hardest skips in the game, actually, but it's fine because if I fail it, I'll just go the normal way. So this is Double Canyon. We're going to try to do a very difficult late jump here. I'll explain what late jumps are in a sec. We didn't get it, that's fine. Go off to the right here. There's a big snake over there, don't worry about him. Harmless. Hop over here. He's just having a little party time over there. We do a wall kick there. You don't have to hide in the palanquin like the game wants you to. You could just run to the left and dodge his attack that way. And then here he doesn't really have a hitbox anywhere that we care about for the follow-up, so... Goodbye, Snake. We spared your eye today. But yeah, so late jumps, there are invisible walls next to... Grabbing this for safety. Invisible walls next to a lot of cliff edges and stuff like that, and you can't walk through them, but you can jump through them or sprint through them. However, if you start your running jump animation in front of one of those walls, the wall will actually like kind of snag you and not let you continue, and you'll just jump from the ledge every time. But if you time it like perfectly as you go off the edge, you can actually do your running jump animation over thin air, and you can get a lot of extra jump. Some places don't have those walls, like here, and that makes this a much easier late jump than that one. So you'll get to see a late jump here. This one is easier. There we go. Oh yeah, that's a boss back there. Don't worry about him. He will take care of himself in his own time. So there's like a similar kind of ledge guard that keeps bosses and mini-bosses from going off edges under normal circumstances. But it won't stop them from pathing off ledges if you're like out of bounds. So we can just do a late jump there to get out of his arena, and then he tries to follow us and runs off the cliff and into a kill box. Taking care of our first full boss. Now we've got the bullfight immediately. I'm going to jump because that guy can't actually detect me if I jump past him. Parry Bull's head charge. I'm going to take damage from Bull even when I parry, so I have to watch my health. And now I need to kill him over by this wall for a specific reason. So there's the death blow. That one enemy over there, you can see he's just forever running against that fog gate. And then we hug the wall and do a quit out. Hug your walls, chat. They deserve it. And so that's going to let us finish what we call an aggro chain. So in the other FromSoft games, there's a thing where you can run past enemies and then quit out to, like the game will save your grounded position, but the enemies will reset to their spawn points whenever you load back in. So you can use that to bypass a lot of enemies. In this game, that mechanic, as it existed, would have been incredibly broken since you can do stealth backstabs. So you would have been able to very easily just walk up behind enemies and quit out and then load back in and stab them. So they changed it in this one so that if you have enemy aggro, the game still saves like it always does, but it doesn't save your grounded position anymore. So we actually found a way to take advantage of that by deliberately making sure we have aggro the entire time that we're running. And then we can quit out to warp back here because we have to come back and talk to this NPC at some point in order to continue the main quest line. There are some crazy glitches you can do to avoid doing this, but not if you want to fight all the bosses. So for this category, those are not available to us. We have to come back here. And so now we're going to equip the 2 prosthetics that we have. These are the only 2 that we're actually going to use for the entire run. We are going to get 1 more, but we're not going to use it. And so we have the firecrackers and the shuriken. Shurikens are kind of like a long-range poke. When we get later in the game, we can use shurikens to just straight up kill some weaker enemies. They do extra damage to enemies that are like jumping or in the air. And then we can also just use them to make certain bosses do something. If they're idling, we can throw a shuriken at them and say, hey, pick an attack, and they will. And then firecrackers, they deal posture damage just inherently to beast or creature type enemies. But mostly what we're going to be using them for is just like kind of a stun that as long as you have time to get the firecrackers off, you can tell most bosses, hey, it's my turn to do something now. And that's mostly what we're going to use it for. Those are the 2 most versatile prosthetics. There are a lot of other ones that have some very specific uses. There's a spear over there that has some cool stuff, but it's too slow to get. We used to grab it, but we just found creative ways to not use it instead. So here's Lone Shadow. First of 4 Lone Shadow fights. I'm gonna take my free backstab there, and then I'm gonna kind of try to dead angle him into this corner. I can just freeform dead angle him the entire fight if I really have to, but it's faster and easier if I can just get him into this corner like so. Cool. And then next we're going to have Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes is a fight where we have to do a fairly particular kind of dead angle, and then we also have to start the fight in a certain way because there's a gunman that would want to shoot at us normally, but for whatever reason with the way his animations work, if we get him to yellow aggro, like right as we backstab the boss, then he'll actually turn away and lose us, and so we won't have to deal with him at all. So definitely a scary fight in the early game. But we're going to be doing what people sometimes call a 180, where we actually want Snake Eyes to parry us, or not parry us, but block us every other hit, because that is going to make her grab less, and her grabbing is always slow, even if you know how to deal with it. Because when she's grabbing, she recovers posture. So she'll tend to start with a grab here no matter what. Like so. And see, I'm trying to also face her into the corner so she doesn't backstep. That takes some fairly specific muscle memory to get used to. But yeah, her grab attack, despite it being a grab attack, you can parry it. The game isn't really clear on exactly how grab attacks work. But there are some that you can parry and others that you cannot parry. That's one of the ones that you can parry. And I know that a lot of times in FromSoft games, like the rule is that like if it's a weapon attack, you can parry it, like with Souls parries. But actually, the short guys that I don't think we're going to kill any of at all. They have like a grab attack where they jump at you and grab. You can also parry that for some reason. So I don't understand the logic, but some grabs are parryable, basically. I'm gonna run past this chicken. Hi, chicken. Goodbye, chicken. Then we're gonna pick up another type of sugar here. So we've already used one other type of sugar other than what I described. We used the Akko's sugar. So the Akko's sugar is a damage buff sugar. It's going to boost our damage by 12.5%. That's our health and our posture damage that we deal, with no drawback. But here we just picked up a Yasha sugar, or several Yasha, 3 Yasha sugars actually, but Yasha sugars are going to give you a 25% boost to your health and posture damage, but they're going to cut your maximum HP in half. But despite that drawback, we're going to be using them as much as humanly possible. And that's Miss Noble. Miss Noble's supposed to be an easy fight like that. That's not a manip or anything. It's just supposed to be harder to get to him than that, but we just did a little parkour off a branch there. There's a couple ways, actually, to get over to Miss Noble without taking his intended little side path. But that is the fastest one that we know of. And so now we're already down in Mubu Village. There's a lot of reasons we're coming down here. So when we kill full bosses, we get these things called memories that we can use that are going to increase our attack power, which is how much damage we do. As opposed to when we kill mini bosses, we're going to get these things called beads, which we can use 4 of to increase our maximum health. And spoilers, we're not going to level our health at all throughout the entire run, so we don't really care about beads. We're just going to get the ones we get incidentally. But we do pretty much want attack power as quickly as we can get it. So a lot of the route is kind of designed to go blitz down bosses and then clean up mini bosses later. Although obviously sometimes it is faster to kill mini bosses on the way rather than have to backtrack to them. But so part of the reason we're going to this boss first is that 1, we get a really good tool, 2, there's a lot of Yasha down here, and 3, we have an insta-kill. So this is supposed to be a mid-game boss. If you wander down here early and have to fight the boss normally, you're going to have a bad time. But yeah, we have a strat for that. So I need to enter the arena from the side so she doesn't see me. Okay, and yet again, we're being incredibly stealthy here. We are a master of stealth, which is why we can get this stealth death blow here. So Corrupted Monk shares her model with another boss later that has an intended phase 2 skip from above. And because of that, she is vulnerable to a death blow from above if you can set up the conditions for it, which you're not supposed to be able to. So what we do is we enter the arena from the side, so she doesn't aggro, and then she'll only aggro if you step into her vision radius, or if you actually like hit her, basically. So we just avoid doing both of those things, and then we hit her with a combination of items that are going to push her backwards. She's going to backstep repeatedly. And I just have to chain those together so that she keeps backstepping, because if you let her finish the backstep animation, she'll actually like reset and move back forward again. And that'll push her just in range that we can do a wall kick off of that pillar and instantly kill the boss, because that boss only has 1 phase. And so now we've got a bunch of Yasha from her. We've got a really powerful tool. Okay, yes, menu wrong. There we go. We've got a really powerful tool from her that we're going to use now, which is the ability to swim underwater. And if you can swim underwater, then you can swim above water. Then you can swim way above water, as we're doing now. So we'll talk a little bit more about how air swim works exactly later. But all you need to know right now is we can fly. And then this cutscene here for Genny is going to pull us out of air swim. I'm going to bait him over to the corner here for his first 2 phases. And then I'm going to do a harder dead angle. So despite the fact that I have a corner here, every 5th hit, I have to turn towards him a certain way so that I clip him. That's fine. So that I clip him, but he doesn't get a chance to parry me. If he parries me, he can instantly break out of the corner. Then we got 1 more of these, and then he will teleport himself and us out of the corner for his final phase, and we will fight him properly. So this is our revenge for him cutting our arm off at the beginning and making us Spider-Man, because that was not something we wanted, apparently. So I'm going to skip the cutscene. I'm going to Yasha immediately. I'm going to turn around so that he misses. Lol. Get wrecked. We want him to lightning like this. We would like him to lightning again, but it's fine. I actually cancel him out of that. Oh, I don't have Makiri. I'm stupid. I just needed to parry that, but you do this fight later. Spoilers, you do this fight later when you do have Makiri, so sometimes if you're not like on point with it, your muscle memory will betray you. I just needed to parry that, but it's fine. Because thrusting attacks you can actually parry, despite them they're being what the game calls perilous attacks. Which you normally can't block them, but you can parry some of them, which is the other thing that's confusing for people casually. Because you can't parry sweeps. But if you are knocked down, you can roll through sweeps with your what the game calls a safety roll, but that's another note about different types of like iframes versus intangibility, etc. But we don't need to worry about any of that. We just have to do a bunch of dialogue now to advance the story. This game, more than the other FromSoft games, has a lot of dialogue-based story triggers. You may notice that I'm skipping through faster than you can casually. That's because I have subtitles off. So normally if you have subtitles on and you hit start, when you're in a dialogue like that, it will close out the dialogue box, but when you re-engage with the character, they'll restart their dialogue from the beginning. But for some reason, we don't know if this is intentional or unintentional, and it took us years of playing this game to figure this out, but with subtitles off, if you start cancel dialogue, it counts that section of dialogue as read. So there's like a little bit of optimization that goes into like knowing what counts as a section of dialogue to know when it's worth start canceling to have to re-engage with the dialogue and when you just want to mash through. So like here, I'm mostly going to be mashing through this dialogue instead because it takes forever to talk to Ishin again because we have to kneel back down to him. But overall, still, that tech saves like a minute in the longer categories like this. Just a minute of random story dialogue we used to have to go through. So very, very cool find. Quality of life. I don't need to do that. Sorry, I learned a new route recently that I'm running here, so yes. So sometimes my muscle memory betrays me, but we already got our prosthetics. So now we can talk about air swim because we're going to be doing a longer air swim. So the way that water is coded in this game is the way water's coded in a lot of games. Rather than the devs coding like volumes of water that you can swim around in, they just have enclosed boxes, and then over those enclosed boxes they will put a plane. And when you go down through the plane, it toggles you into swim state, and when you go back up through the plane, it toggles you out of swim state. So because of that, if we can go down through the plane without having to go up through it, then we can just maintain swim state forever. And so that's what we're doing here. There are some caveats to the way that it works. So if you hit a load zone in an area that isn't where you got your air swim, the game will just instantly kill you. No mercy. And so for longer swims like this, we have to do some shenanigans along the way in order to tell the game our swim spot is actually in a new spot. And so you saw me surface and then go back under out of bounds there. That's one way. And then I can quit out near certain bits of collision as well to do it. However, you do have to know where you can quit out like that because a lot of places out of bounds simply won't save your position. And then there are some other places where you'll get like a glitched save if you do that, where you'll load in and there'll just be a pure black screen. And then eventually the game will kill you, but you can't really do anything until then. And it's very slow. So routing out longer swims in this game is actually like a whole thing. This is the Armored Knight. Everyone calls him Robert or Roberto. He's actually Robert's father, but there you go. You're supposed to push him off the edge, but I can bait him off the edge instead. But for the most part, we actually can't really kill bosses or mini-bosses while we're in swim state. So there's some places where we have creative ways like that. But mostly, you can't death blow an enemy while you're in swim state if they're a land enemy. There we go. So a lot of our swimming that we're going to be doing is just going to be us like taking better lines, you know, navigating to places that we could go anyway, but it's faster to go that way. Your swim speed is also like 50% faster than your sprint speed. So it's a fast form of movement, but in this category, we're not actually going to be using it to break much, with like 1 or 2 exceptions. So it's really just a movement tool to us. Obviously, in any percent, the shorter categories, you can break the game wide open with it, do a lot of swimming, but we have to kill all the bosses, so. And then we did another little aggro chain there to take out that giraffe. It's a giraffe, don't worry about it. And so now we're on our way up to monkeys. A lot of animals in this area. Giraffe and monkeys. And so I'm going to be going for gotchanless monkeys, which is a harder strat. The easiest way to take out these monkeys is just to use a gotchan sugar, and then they don't see you very well. But yeah, there's another strat we can do here. So I'm going to go for it. Easy enough to back up if I miss it. So first off, the invisible monkey who follows you, he starts right behind you, so we can just kill him immediately. Like so. And then I need to kind of line up my positioning and then time some grapples here. Very carefully. Cool. Okay. Missed 1 hit there, that's fine. Had to do 1 extra R1. That is the hard part of the skip. Come on. Okay, we caught him. Oh. Okay. We caught him. That's fine. I thought he was going to get away from me there. Oh, we did it, but that's gotchanless monkeys. Really, really hard to time that second grapple so that you bump both of them at the same time. But it saves us picking up an extra gotchan. Like I said, a lot of the like more recent optimizations in this game has kind of been about not using gotchans. So yeah, that was another child. This is a more powerful child that we just got a more powerful sword from. So, you know, $5 more, pay up, chat. I will tell you, unfortunately, that is the last time that we actually get a sword from a child, but, you know, kind of weird that it happens twice, right? Swords come from children in this universe. That's what I'm saying. If you want to take one lore factoid home from this run, I want it to be that swords in this universe come from children. All right, so this sword, like I said, is very powerful, much like the child who gave it to us. We're going to get 1 more tool right now that's going to help us use it. We got to fight a Shichimin here. He's going to teleport, so I'm going to run to a specific spot to manipulate his teleport. Like so. There we go. And then we're just kind of going to circle around him. So this is a type of enemy the game calls apparitions in English. And there's a buff we picked up basically called Divine Confetti, and we do essentially no damage to them unless we have that buff. So we kind of have to route our confetti in order to be able to take out all of those. And so confetti, if you use it on a normal enemy, it will still boost your damage by 20%, but only the damage you do to an enemy's health, not the damage you do to their posture. So it's a lot less useful to us than our other buffs, outside of the fact that we need it for certain fights. And now you're going to see why this blade is so strong. So this is the sword on our back, Fushigiri, or the Mortal Blade, which is going to let us use Mortal Draw, which does a lot of damage, as you can tell. And for some reason, it does even more damage if you jump before you use it. That is not a universal fact of combat arts in this game. It is just unique to Mortal Draw for some reason. We're going to cancel fall damage by stabbing a dude. Don't try that at home. Gonna bump him there with that jump. Hug this wall because it looks just lovely tonight. There we go. And then we're gonna equip the Tanto, what it's called, that we got from the Shichimin that we killed, the ceremonial Tanto. So each time we use Mortal Draw, it's gonna take 3 Spirit Emblems from us, and Spirit Emblems are on the bottom right once we load back in. See, we have 17. We're going to get 15 back every time we kill a mini-boss, so that matters a lot for routing as well. And then we have a stockpile of them that we've built up from killing mini-bosses up until this point. And so when we refill our Spirit Emblems by resting or by dying or warping too, that's where those are going to come from. They're going to come from our hidden stockpile that we could see if we open our inventory, but that's slow. So there's a lot of routing to make sure that you have enough Spirit Emblems throughout. And then what the Tonto lets us do is we can sacrifice half of our health. It's half of our current maximum health, which is different than Yasha, which cuts our max health in half. You can use them together, and we will be doing that a lot in late game. But that's going to give us 5 temporary emblems that basically work like the blood bullets in Bloodborne. So you could call them blood emblems, where we'll get a red +5 above our emblem count there. And any attacks that we do that take emblems will draw from that pool before they take our actual pool. And so that's very important to let us keep using Mortal Draw in longer fights, as long as we have the health. So our HP is, like I said, we're not going to be upgrading our max because everything we need it for is percentage-based anyway. We're going to be using that as a resource to boost our damage. So I used the Gotcha Sugar there, and then I buffered a crouch out of that grapple so that Snake Eyes here doesn't see me, which lets me get a stealth death blow on her. I'm spacing a certain distance away from her, and then that means that I can jump in Mortal Draw to cover every possible option that she can do. It's a nice little option select. Doing the spacing is like perfectly is kind of inconsistent. Well, it's difficult, I should say, but once you get really used to it, you can adjust in the air. That's annoying to get shot there. That's fine. This area is legitimately really scary. If I were doing PB attempts, I would do a different jump that's 5 seconds faster. Generally called YOLO gun fort. I like to call it top route because it is kind of a top route. I could still get shot here. Hopefully will not. Okay. This is the last place I could get shot. All right, we're good. Yeah, that area, this is like, it's like 30-ish minutes into the run and you can just like die here and lose your run. It's very annoying. But we made it through, so I'll grab that safety idol. And then here's another giraffe. If you look at his name, you'll see he is a giraffe. And then for last phase, I'm just going to double Mortal Draw, and then I'm going to jump into him, which bumps him there. And lets me just kind of stagger lock him like that. So bumping is something I've talked about a little bit. But essentially, certain enemies, when they're in certain specific animations and you're doing a specific animation, you can jump into them like that. And it will kind of stagger them like that. They'll get like a little stagger animation, not like their full stagger animation. And combined with doing jumping Mortal Draw, there are some fights where you can kill them just by doing that over and over. It's harder than it seems in most cases. That's the easiest one. But there are a lot of fights where we found that like we can get really good consistent strats no matter what the enemy does just by executing on those, which is really cool. And then so now we're on our way to Ape. Then we saw our friend the snake again, real quick there. So Ape is another good example of the power of Mortal Draw, but also why it's still like difficult to use Mortal Draw. Because we're going to be doing a lot of free aiming our Mortal Blade here. Because Ape has a weak spot on his head. And the Mortal Draw hitbox is huge, but there are 2 of them and you want to hit with both to actually get full damage here. And so I need to be hitting both hitboxes of Mortal Draw directly on his head, and I need to collide with his head first because of the way that hitbox detection works in this game here. And if I can do that, the boss will die very quickly. Decent first combo, that was bad. Okay, and I had to back it up there. Yeah, the second hit was the bad one there. The others were fine. Very easy to make a small mistake. So because I messed up there, it means I have to heal and use my Tonto. so that I have enough emblems for phase 2, while also having enough health for phase 2. So phase 2 is much the same, except this time the weak point is his neck hole. That's bad RNG, unfortunately. This is fine. We'll get a really strong hit here. This should kill. Okay. He wouldn't have staggered there if that didn't kill, so I'm glad that that killed. But yeah, when he does that big combo slam where he just lays there, that's when you're supposed to be able to hit his neck hole. But if you're good with your Mortal Draw free aims, you can actually hit it the rest of the... Like, there's a couple different animations where you can hit it. Unfortunately, if he does the sweep attack, you just lose time. But there are most combinations of attacks that he can do will actually let you do a lot of damage. And just kind of end the fight in 2 combos of his. So we're immediately going to go do double ape now. So this is the same as like ape phase 2, basically. We just need to land mortal draws on his neck hole here. And we have a different set of animations we want to be taking advantage of. So Niyasha. I think I did it again. I think I forgot to use a memory. We gotta improvise. Okay. So if you're gonna get hit by that, get hit by it immediately. Because once you get hit by that scream and get staggered out of it, then it can't stagger you again because of the way that hitboxes work. So I knew I could just let myself get hit again there. That's the second ape, by the way. That's why we had to do that fast. But yeah, my hits were fine there, but I was missing damage because I forgot to use the memory after ape, I'm pretty sure. We made it work, though. A little bit slower, but it's fine. No, did I? No, okay, I did. I just missed hits then. That's fine. Still, we made it work. And so now we've got one more mini-boss to take care of, and then we've got Owl, which is probably the fight that I'm the most worried about. Oh, that's old. We don't do that anymore. So I've only recently been doing this Owl fight. There's a cheese you can do. If I die, we'll just do the cheese because we'll be out of materials that we need, basically. But so we're going to set up an aggro chain here, and then run over to take care of the 7 spear. And then that way, when we quit back out, we can be right back there and do it again. So I'm going to approach from the side here. Grapple up here to get my stealth death blow. And then I'm going to be trying to bump him up the stairs here. Don't need the bump if he does that. Actually, don't need the bump if he does that, too. So that's funny. He gave me the RNG combination where I actually don't need to bump him at all anyway. So cool. Now we're going to go back in the reservoir jump hole. So this is the same collision hole that we used to get to monkeys. I'll hop up here. I'm going to Tonto while I have a chance. Wall kick over here. And then swim up here. By the way, there's no kill boxes here, like below the map, which is actually bad for us because if we fall, then we have to fall for like, it's like 45 seconds before the game auto kills you. It takes forever. We lose a lot of time. Okay, so hopefully I do this okay. I just, my punishes for this fight aren't quite as automatic yet as I would like them to be. So I'm going to focus a bit. Make him do something. That's an easy punish that time. Okay. So normally I would push him towards the wall here because then I have to run less at the end of the fight, but For marathon safety, I'm going to give myself more room. Half hit there. It's fine. Can parry that as I jump through it. I want to actually save this. There we go. Okay, so I was a little slow on phase 2. So because of that, I ran out of Yasha. You have like just barely enough Yasha to kill him if you do the fight perfectly. But that's fine. We had to go a little slow at the end. But I'm definitely okay with that for these purposes. Now we've got a bit more dialogue to do. Just to advance this. And then in addition to what we have to do necessarily in order to advance the story, there's a little bit of extra we're going to start doing that's going to unlock one of the, what you could call one of the secret endings. I need to rest here to put Emma right there so that I can continue with the dialogue. But there's only one of the secret endings that has a boss lock behind it and 2 mini bosses, so we're going to be working towards that now. Starting here. So I got 2 more dialogues. 1 more. Then I use the incense burner. And then I'm going to do a quick eavesdrop here for the secret ending. There we go. And then we will do the rest of this later as we're like warping around back here, basically. We used to do it all at once, but obviously makes sense to route it out throughout the game if you can. So we've kind of found a way to do that. So now we're going back to where we killed Corrupted Monk, and so we're going to go do True Monk now. And so True Monk, like I said, she has an intended phase 2 skip, and not only is that going to let us kill Corrupted Monk in 1, it's also going to let us skip True Monk phase 1, but it's fairly finicky to do. So hopefully it does not take me many tries. But visually, True Monk starts the fight by jumping in from far away. She's actually already in position there. She's just invisible. And so we can hit her trigger while it's invisible if we're very precise. Like so. That's phase 1. I'm going to do 1R1 just to make sure I don't jump up here too early. She's going to put herself in position here. That's the intended phase 2 skip. Now we just have phase 3. Start with a mortal draw. 2, 3, 4. Jump 5. Jump iframes. Dodge through, and then I got a half hit on that, so I have to do 2 mortal draws instead of 1, but that's fine. And that's True Monk. Now we've got another really hard skip. This section is really, really tough of the run. But before that, we're going to do another unintended, or not really a sequence break, but it's like a bit of a skip. You're supposed to have to run all the way to the left there so that you can kill a guy up there who's like kicking lightning bolts down at us. But if we're precise with our movement, we can actually just avoid all the lightning. But I messed up there. I wasn't enough in the corner. This might still work. It's fine if I die. I'll just have to do it again. Yeah, I think this will work. Okay. Yeah, you just normally would not get hit there. That would be the difference. And then you just have to time after the first lightning bolt when you start swimming. Oh yeah, and then there's a big carp there, but the carp is like the snake. He has very specific spots that he can hit and a lot of spots where he can't. So I can just swim up to the top there. Take that kind of arc to get over here, and I don't have to dodge him or anything. He'll just miss. Okay, so we're going to kill another Shichi. This time we're going to kill him without using confetti, which is part of what's convenient about this. But so this mini-boss, most mini bosses, well, all of them, have a range at which they will de-aggro and recover their health. But Shichiman here... Yeah, the range at which he will de-aggro is actually farther than the range at which he will deload. So we can take advantage of that if we're good. No, okay. We get one more attempt before we have to rest. That's okay, this skip's really hard. By getting a death blow right as we splat. Okay, we try again. And that will actually give us the first health off, but teleport us away so that he doesn't actually aggro onto us, which is going to let us immediately get another stealth death blow. So that's what we're trying to do here, is time our first death blow very precisely before we hit the ground. You also need the correct angle. Nah, it was too far forward there. I have like a bit of a lineup that I'm going for, but it's not 100% consistent. Yeah. So it's 3 attempts, and then I don't have enough health to survive the drop. Yeah, that's okay. Sometimes this takes a bit. I did really well at this yesterday, unfortunately. But, I mean, it was fortunate to do well at it yesterday, but... Or, no, it was 2 days ago. It was Thursday on stream. I got this twice YOLO first try. On the 2 no resets that I did. But, unfortunately, not on marathon day. Let's see. Make sure I'm back enough. Come on. It's a pretty important part of the route, unfortunately. But we've done pretty well up until now, so... We've got the time to get this.
Looks like we've had a $20 donation from Anonymous, so thank you very much to those of you in chat.
That's $10 per child. That's pretty impressive, actually. Per sword child. Ah, that looked better. Ah, come on. Yeah, so I'm doing the mortal draw to help me, like, time, basically, when I need to, There we go. To help me time when I can press R1. So, unfortunately, it took quite a few attempts, but now we can get the second. We just have to wait for him to finish his death animation there. Or his animation from getting the first death blow, basically. But this routing is actually really efficient, because we can run along the bottom here and then grapple up to the lightning guy. I just have to time this with his cycle, position by that specific lily pad, and then wait very slightly so that that lightning that he fired at me misses. And then we can take care of him. And now we're going to kill our first headless. So this is another enemy we generally need confetti to do damage to. For the underwater headless, you actually don't need confetti to do normal damage to them. They're like the one exception. But we still get that 20% damage boost for using confetti here. And see, he has a twin over there. This specific headless has that twin. And if we didn't have this stealth sugar on us, that twin would be firing projectiles at us while we were fighting the boss, and we can't really have that. So we can't really afford to use a Yasha there, and we wouldn't have one to spare anyway. So you might as well use confetti and go for the health kill. And we've got it to spare in the route. And then, so we got one more mini-boss to kill in Fountainhead. This isn't intended insta-kill here. If you Firecracker Bull when Bull doesn't see you, he will go instantly into his death charge, which means you just need to bait him into a wall, and he will just instantly be vulnerable. I kick him there just to cancel him out of his death animation so I can stab him a little bit sooner. But he would have died on his own. And then I just have to do the death blow there. The window that you have to do the death blow after you kick him like that is actually fairly small, but like you can embarrass yourself and mess it up if you're not really quick on it, but it's not a big deal most of the time. One of those things that happens like very rarely and you just have to laugh about it. Okay, now we're going to do some dialogue here again. So this is stuff for the secret ending, essentially. So we're going to go back and talk to Emma. I'm going to be quitting out here to advance time. You could also rest at the idols here, but when we time in IGT, normally we would quit out. So I'm going to just do it the way that I'm used to. It's not that much slower, unfortunately, because it's really awkward. You're walking in and out of here from the idols because he keeps like pulling his sword out, putting it away, pulling it out, putting it away. We just have one more quit out now. And this will warp Emma down to the bottom. Just like the way that a lot of NPC quests tend to work in Souls games. You need to reload the area to advance the NPC dialogue. And then we just got a little row of mini bosses to kill, and then we go fight Dragon, and then we'll be in late game. So we're moving along. Everything except Shichi has gone well. Finish that, we can just start cancel. She only has one line. Gonna Yasha here, because we're gonna kill another underwater headless, like I said. You don't need you don't actually need underwater, or you don't need divine confetti, sorry, to kill the underwater headless. Because the reason the divine confetti is divine is because it's blessed with the same water that the headless are in. I believe that is intended to be the lore rationale for that. But there also isn't an animation to use confetti underwater, so it might be a convenience thing. Pick up a free Yasha we get there. Gonna hop up here. So there's some dogs down there. We don't want them to see us. See, that's who is like semi-alerted with the yellow. We backstab this lone shadow. I just have to space my mortal draw here so that I can hit him with the firecrackers, but I'm not so close that he can kill me with his follow-up. And then we actually kill that guy so fast that he's still continuing his dialogue after we've long killed him and jumped over the cliff, which I always find amusing. Now we've got our first land headless. So land headless, generally we're going to be trying to loop them. One of the ways we can start the loop is by baiting a grab. That's generally how we're going to start phase 2. And so the headless grab is kind of infamous because it's scary and it insta-kills you. Actually. There we go. So I'll explain how the grab works here. Headless will only initiate the grab if it thinks that it's facing your back. So like now it'll do it on the teleport. And see, so it goes into that grab animation, but it doesn't actually have a hitbox yet. He may not give me the grab since he just did it. Oh, he did. Yeah, so that doesn't have a hitbox. So as long as I turn around before he gets to me, he'll go into a whiffed grab animation instead of actually killing me, because there's no active hitbox. But if he gets in range of you and decides that he is still facing your back, which annoyingly sometimes can happen because he's like reaching through you. But when that happens, then his hand will get an active hitbox as the perilous attack symbol comes up. And at that point, it doesn't matter how you turn, he will just kill you. So once he does the grab, you need to, like, once you get that perilous symbol, you have to just jump away. It's too late to bait him at that point. do one last eavesdrop for the secret ending, and then we're going to get the item we need from Emma now that'll let us activate or access that area later. There we go. And now we can head on over to Dragon. So Dragon is a fight that is actually widely hated among most speedrunners. It is objectively a big source of RNG in the run in like several places, more so than a lot of other fights. So I completely understand, but I still love this fight. I love it aesthetically. It's also kind of a rare exception in these games because there are a lot of intended fights that kind of get turned into gimmick fights in the speedrun as we like cheese bosses or glitch kill them or whatever. This is actually a gimmick fight that gets turned into a straight up fight in the speedrun because you're supposed to just kind of sit back and wait for lightnings to spawn on random branches. But that's too slow for us, so we're actually going to fight him instead. But first we need to get through phase 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4 as I wait for these guys to spawn. I'm going to try to cleave as many as I can down with 2 mortal draws. Also trying not to get poisoned. And then I'm waiting for the branches to spawn here. Because these guys will only spawn so fast no matter what. And now I can jump from above and do that, which is going to let me cleave down tons of them all at once without using any emblems. There we go, just timed it. So now we start phase 2. I'm going to run towards him. Yasha. Okay, that's a good good attack and a good branch. So that's good. Give me the triple. Oh no, he's gonna give me the bite anyway, that's fine. Just a little harder to punish. But we're good. We got the punish. Not the best second lightning spawn, but not terrible for RNG. And then unfortunately we can also lose time on this cycle here. So now he's going to do attacks for about 20 seconds to 25 seconds depending on when you start counting. But the problem is that if he's started an attack when that timer runs out, he will finish the attack before he advances to the next phase. So if he starts a slow attack right before the timer runs out, like if he does the multi-slam right now, okay, we're good. Then you could just lose a lot of time for no reason. So that's why a lot of people hate this fight, but it's so pretty. And the OST is so good. I still am glad it exists. And then this is scripted. I'm going to hold to the right slightly as I come down, because weirdly you have to do that for this grapple point to work. That's a strange thing. And we're just going to get a little tear from him while he is a sleepy boy. Balls. And yeah, that's Dragon. So we're in late game now. So the first thing we're going to do is head to Harada. So we've been doing a lot of damage throughout this playthrough. And mostly that's been, you know, a combination of us using broken tools. We're using buffs that are very high risk, high reward. We're free aiming so that we can hit weak spots we're not supposed to, all that stuff. This is the one time in the entire run where we're just going to be straight up over leveled. I'll tell you that right now, and that's why we're going to be doing monstrous damage to these couple fights here. We're going to start off with a little air swim though. I just need to jump into this collision hole by wall kicking around this corner, and then there we go. It's like a little pizza pie, like pizza slice shaped opening in the collision there we can slide through. And again, we're not skipping anything. This is about 7 seconds faster, 6 to 7, than just running the normal way. But, you know, faster's faster. So we're going to do that just to get over here quicker. Arguably, the cycle you get on the guards is a little better here as well. Yeah, so we could easily backstab this mini-boss, but that would actually be slower. We do so much damage to this fight that we're really just trying to get optimal death animations. So I want to stab him from the front like that, and then I want to bait a backstab in the second phase. Because the backstab animation is very fast, as you saw, but if you backstab him in phase 1, then he just kind of lays on the ground for a while, like a baby. Even though he just got stabbed, it's like, come on, dude. Just a little sword. You can get back up now. It takes you forever to be able to hit him again, so... We don't want to do a backstab in phase 1, but in phase 2, we don't care how long he lays about, you know? Because we don't need to hit him anymore. We're going to go get the car keys from Dad here real quick. This is the same Dad we fought earlier. There's time travel in this game, don't worry about it. Try to do a late jump. Royally botch it. That's an easy late jump to do, but there's a slightly faster grapple you can do if you get like a really good late jump, so I went a little too far there. Tried to get a very good late jump and instead missed it. The little sliver of health we took isn't a big deal, it just loses a few seconds. We're gonna wall kick up this. So yeah, you can like repeatedly wall kick in very specific areas that allow you to repeatedly wall kick. Mostly doesn't matter, but it is a thing. We can do it there for movement. Gonna gotcha in here. So you can only have one sugar active at a time, which means under normal circumstances, you can't have a damage buff like and a stealth buff at the same time. But instead what we can do is stealth buff, get right up behind the boss, use a damage buff, and then backstab him very quickly before he has time to detect us. And so there are a couple places in late game where we're going to be doing that to effectively get the benefits of a stealth sugar plus a damage sugar. At least for the sake of starting the fight. And that's going to let us just do 3 mortal draws there to kill. I'm going to run slightly to the left so this guy aggro's a little bit earlier than he normally would, which is going to make him step out of our way there. Or otherwise not block our progress. So now this is Butterfly. This fight is still actually somewhat scary. Because, again, we're over-leveled, but you may notice we haven't leveled our health at all, like I said. So we're going to do a lot of damage to her, but she can also kill us very easily. Okay. Weird opener. That's fine. And then I have to very precisely time my first mortal draw here. So I'm going to pay attention. Almost too late, but we got it. So I need to hit her with that first mortal draw as she's landing. So that, excuse me, she still has iframes. Or not iframes, she still has hyper armor, but she takes full damage from it. Which is going to let me immediately get another full damage mortal draw off, and then I can jump to follow her to get a third and final mortal draw. If you do it too early, you can miss or get half damage, and you won't have enough damage to kill. If you do it too late, your first mortal draw will stagger her, which means you won't be able to hit her with the second one, and you won't have enough damage to kill. And then she immediately will summon her clones if you mess that up. So you can still save it, but it's very scary because, again, we have very little health. We have base health, and then we're cutting that in half even further. And then also further having that a lot of the time with our Tonto. So the timing on that is actually fairly tight, and it can go badly. And I always forget to grab the safety bonfire before her in marathon runs, and it's like 3 minutes to run back if you die there. So I'm glad that we didn't die there because I forgot to grab the bonfire again. Or idle. So now we're in late game, or we're back to doing like actual high level stuff now. So we're gonna go take care of Demon of Hatred and Sword Saint Ishin, who is the final story boss, but we're not gonna be killing him last. We're gonna be killing him now because it is convenient for routing. So to kill Demon of Hatred, we're gonna go right back into the Genny hole here. Just take my time to line this up. So this is the same sliver of water we used for Genny, and then I'm gonna swim over here. So bear in mind, again, I have to be fairly particular about how I'm loading things in. There's a wall directly above me there that if I go slightly too high, it's invisible, but if I hit it by going slightly too high, I will instantly die. So I do have to be very aware of the out of bounds geography. It's not that difficult once you learn it, but it's not brain dead. And then so we quit out. Now this sets our swim location to Demon of Hatred's arena, but he's not spawned in, so we have to go spawn him in, like so. And then we're actually going to start the fight and then quit out to load back out, because the first time you enter Demon of Hatred's fight, he has ads with him. And unfortunately, the amount of time it will take him to kill the ads is very inconsistent. And we're going to need the ads to be dealt with immediately. So by quitting out, we despawn all of them. Now he will follow us unhindered once we let him out of his cage here. So I need to do kind of a U-shaped swim around some collision that, again, will kill me if I hit it. Up into this water here. That will despawn his arena. And so he is actually following us along the ground, question mark, down there, sky. There's no collision down there. If you swim down there, you won't hit anything. But for some reason, Demon of Hatred specifically can just run along the nothing. But doesn't really help him because he will eventually just hit a kill box there. And then we do one final quit out. This will set our spawn, or our swim spawn, basically to reservoir where the final boss is. I'm going to swim around a kill box here. There's like sort of a ribbon-shaped kill box down there. That's what Demon of Hatred walked into. And now we're going to start this fight. So we're not actually going to like cheese this fight with swim or anything. We just are swimming to get there faster. I'm going to Yasha immediately. Jumping double mortal draw. See, here's where I can Makiri him. Pretty bad pattern for the opener, but it's not a big deal. Just a little slow. Ishin sword phase. That's good. We can immediately get a mortal draw. We'll jump kill him here, so as to not waste more emblems. Yasha again. Dodge, Tonto. Firecracker to cancel him out of that animation because he recovers posture while he's in that animation. We would like him to not recover posture. Now just last phase, we want him to lightning immediately. There we go. Then I'll try to bait the long combo, but he just did it. Okay. Oh, it's annoying. I got the combo I wanted. I missed the parry. It's embarrassing. Okay. Okay. Yeah, really bad if you die there, so I played it a little safe on the end. That's funny that I missed the combo that I wanted. I didn't expect him to do it, because he had just done it, but you want him to do it, normally. That's fine. So that's Ishin. So now we're going to go trigger the credits, because the game lets us stay in regular new game after triggering the credits. So the ruling for all bosses categories in modern FromSoft games is you do have to trigger the credits, but you don't have to end on the credits. So there is an awkward side effect of that. Like I said, we're doing the stuff for one of the secret endings. That ending would let us save Kuro's life, but we haven't done all of that yet. So sorry, Kuro. We're going to have to just kill you real quick, buddy. And then carry on. Despite the fact that we will eventually get all the things that would have saved his life. But, you know, we're not ready yet. So now we've got one more full boss to kill, and then like a kind of slew of mini bosses that we got to take out as well. So first we're gonna go deal with Orin. Orin is kind of a ghost boss, and that makes her really annoying. She really loves to, one, jump back, and two, become intangible. The two worst things a Souls boss can do. But hopefully if she gives us a good pattern, then she will only do that when we want her to. So I'm going to Yasha and then Mortal Draw to start the fight. As you do. I want her to jump back there, yes. So that'll let me finish phase one with a backstab so she gets up faster. I don't want her to do it here. Okay, we're good. And then I just want her to come at me. Nice. Pretty good. She was very kind to us there, actually. And we make sure we have to delay our warp out a little bit there to make sure that we get the stuff from her. If we did it too early, we would still get her stuff later, but we actually kind of want one of the things we got from her now, which is something that gives us health back whenever we do a death blow. We actually already have one of that skill, but when you double it, you get extra health back. And that is going to be important for us to be able to Tonto the number of times that we need to here. So I'm going to Tonto here immediately, and then I'm going to Yasha, which basically makes it like we didn't really lose any health, right? Because we were going to cut our health off anyway with the Yasha. Jump over him, Immortal Draw. He's going to jump back. I'm going to follow him and do 2 more. Stealth Sugar immediately, which is both important for the boss after this and also is going to let us make our way past these guys a lot easier. They did see me because I was so close, so I do have to be a little careful not to get shot in the back by them here. Looks like we're good. We can just tank that fire damage, that's fine. Okay, Shuriken that guy. Shuriken this guy. And then we can quit out. So remember what I said about the aggro chain stuff that's supposed to keep us from doing the thing we're about to do? Yeah, we're about to do that thing anyway. So we positioned a certain way so that our position got saved right behind him here, so we can immediately buff after killing the guards and then start the fight from here. 1, 2, what is he gonna do? Okay, that's good. Not the best RNG, but like the second best RNG. We could just immediately double Mortal Draw there. The best RNG is he does a sweep immediately, so you can just immediately jump in place and Mortal Draw. But any attack where you can dodge and then Mortal Draw is the second best. If he does something else or doesn't do anything, then you have to Firecracker him and then Mortal Draw, and then you have to Tonto after as well, which is why that's bad. So this is Owl 2. Double Mortal Draw. Dodge behind. Two more Mortal Draws. I'm gonna try to get short drop here, good. And I can finish the fight right here. So for that fight, you have to dead angle your Mortal Draws. Because he will parry them otherwise and take less damage. As long as you hit all of them, then it goes like that. But it's very easy to try to dead angle, especially when you're learning the fight. It's very easy to like try to dead angle, but then only get a half hit or something instead. And that's kind of the balance. We have to wait for him to finish his dialogue here. Then I have to wait a little bit longer. Otherwise, him giving us the his memory here will kick us back off the idol, which we don't want. And there we go. So all the bosses are dead. We just have mini bosses left. Okay, so more headless here. I did switch combat arts for the first time in the run. There's a combat art we got from the final boss that is better than Mortal Draw in basically one specific instance. And that instance is when you're fighting Headless or Shichimin. Because when we do Mortal Draw... didn't quite get the position behind him there, that's fine. When you do Mortal Draw, you're dealing damage with Fushigiri, which is the sword on your back. And that sword doesn't get any damage boost from the confetti that you're using. So Mortal Draw does very little damage to Headless and Shichi, because there's no confetti boost. But if you hit with the melee hitbox of Dragon Flash, then you do get extra damage from having the confetti boost. And so specifically in these endgame scenarios here, we're going to be using a bit of Dragon Flash. Now for this fight, it would actually be faster to use Mortal Draw, but not enough so that it's worth going back into the menu to switch it. So we're just going to do one extra hit, basically. Because Dragon Flash is still fairly strong. But yeah, that's part of the routing as well. Now is like saving the apparitions, that, as they're called, that you can until after you get this specific attack. So now we've got one more Shichi. So I'm going to double buff here, as we tend to. I'm going to shuriken him here as we're landing just to aggro him earlier. So he cancels out of that attack where he's recovering posture. It only takes 2 dragon flashes to kill. Gonna manip his teleport like I did before. Another double dragon flash. And now we've got one more section to do with its set of mini bosses. So we will warp back to Ashina Castle. And we've got a somewhat difficult skip here. We're gonna parkour off of some very small collision. Saves about 10-ish seconds. Very, very stressful to do in PB pace because we're just skipping a door that unfortunately has a remarkably slow open animation. But having to do this on PB pace is a very tense thing. In many ways, kind of the final check that you pass to get a PB in this category. There we go. And then... come on. You have to stay up there long enough to get your sprint going again. I overdid it slightly, and then it's really hard to recover. There's a guy throwing daggers at us as well, just to make it a little bit worse. Just turned into the wall a little too much on that jump. So his daggers, like, basically won't ever hit you as long as you get the skip first try, but it becomes worse if you miss it even once. Come on. Now I'm overcompensating. Back too much. Okay. Jump. Hey, we did it. All right. We made it over the wall. Did I? Okay, I did switch back to Mortal Draw. I was like, I'm make sure. It took me so long. Okay. So backstab this guy. I'm going to bump him here to make him do a specific animation so that I get time to firecracker both of them there. Or if the other one is so far away that he doesn't get hit by the firecracker, then he's also not close enough to hit me. Then we do another aggro chain, so we teleport back up to the top of the building. Then we will once again descend from the top of the tower like Batman, because we're Batman now. We were Spider-Man, now we're Batman. Dash off. Preventing the game from saving my position anywhere yet again by landing on certain things. Wait for these guys to run up. And then try to cleave the adds down with my Mortal Draw. But without accidentally getting a death blow on one of them, because that would be slow. 1, 2, and 3. And then our final wall hug of the run. Everybody say goodbye to walls. You will be hugged no longer. And this is the final quit out of the run as well. So the next fight can also go badly. There's an ad in the room with him who can be very dangerous if you make any mistake. Specifically, I need to trigger the death blow on this mini boss between phases from a specific distance so that I get the specific death blow animation that I want. And if I mess that up, the fight goes off the rails. There we go. That's the fast one. And we're good. Okay. Tonto. Now we got Ashina Elite. We're just going to open the fight with 2 Mortal Draws, and then we're going to parry his counterattack, and that will finish each phase. There we go. And then yet again, 1, 2, and parry. Now we're going to cancel fall damage by doing a ledge grab. There are many ways you can cancel fall damage in this game. Don't do any of them. Fingers of Steel. Your legs? No, I can't handle it. Your fingers? Got it. Got it, bro. Don't you worry about a thing. I'm deliberately looking down here to manip the gun cycle on this guy. Because I need to kill him, otherwise he will bug me. And so we've got to kill Shigekichi now. Shigekichi has armor on his front. You can pull it off with the spear, but we don't have the spear. Spear is slow, so we're just going to hit him in the back. Jump behind Mortal Draw. Jumping Firecracker into Mortal Draw. And then I need him to pick an attack. That works. Double Mortal Draw. Should kill, yep. We have one more fight to go. So I'm going to re-equip Dragon Flash for the final time. Pick up the final Divine Confetti we need. Very conveniently placed there. Which is why the confetti routing is so neat in this. We've got a little ledge here. The fastest way to move along the ledge is actually to just jump and re-ledge grab each time. Now we just hope that we get fast opener here in phase 1. And then phase 2 is relatively consistent. So jump. Nope, no fast opener. That's okay. Which means we just kill him and then try to bait the grab for phase 2. And then time will be when I quit out after the fight. Because we have to quit out for official time. So I get an item here. And that's time.
GG.
Yeah, pretty decent run. Yeah, 112 up, other than Chi-Chi, unfortunately. Taking that many tries at Chi-Chi eats up a lot of time. But no, I feel okay about that. Yeah, I hope everybody had a good time. I will, as promised, put in my $10 for the Sword Kids.
Thank you,
in
Sword
this game.
Kids.
Thank you, Sword Kids. But that'll do it for me. So it was fun.
Yep,
See you
thanks
guys.
for joining us. Make sure to check out spaceyl1. Give him a follow. That was Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Coming up next, we have a Nightmare Cart by Joker. Stick around. Make sure to get those donos in.